Hey everybody, it's Bethany at Mosaic Hooker. I wanted to create a little support video for the buffalo plaid pattern that I created. It's a little bit different that it uses some diagonal stitches instead of, doing columns or stripes. And I know that there's some tricky little bits on it, so I just want to kind of cover it and do a little demo. I'm just going to do a little snapshot. It is kind of a little bit of a build your own adventure. So in the pattern, I do give the option of how to work 11 blocks wide by 12 blocks high. These blocks, I messed up a little bit. There was supposed to be one more row. But these are what the blocks are. So 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks. And I did write out one sample in case people did not want to kind of design their own. And that's what I'm going to try and demo a little bit today. I have a short piece, but if you were going to start the pattern, you would chain 135 to start. And then row 1, this is just the chain row, and then row 1, you are going to dive in and you're going to skip this loop. This is the last chain on your hook, and you're going to go into the second chain from your hook, and you're going to work single crochets all the way across your chain. And that is going to complete row 1. So once you've completed row 1 and you've got a single crochet in every stitch, you're going to go into the first, this is going to be your border stitch. It's the very first stitch in this little piece of work here. So I go under both loops, yarn over, pull through, and I work 1 single crochet right into there. And for me, that's my border stitch. I know different people work them just a little bit differently. And then for row 2, you're just using your opposite color, and you're going to go into the back loop only of each single crochet from this row, and you're going to work a single crochet into the back loop only. And you're going to again go all the way across to your piece. And once we're done that, I'll meet you back at the beginning again. So this row begins the diagonals, and there's an interesting diagonal right out of the gate because it sits right on top of this. It sits right on top of the border stitch right here. So you won't work a border stitch, you'll work a diagonal. And if you watch the video on diagonals, you come down over 2. So it's going to go from here down over 2. So I do a standing double crochet, I yarned over and I hold it there. I go under, yarn over, pull through, and I complete my double crochet. Then, so that went to this stitch, the border stitch. So then the first stitch of the pattern is right here. So you go into the back loop for your single crochet back loop. Now, as you go across, you're going to see that the diagonals line up. So the bottom of that diagonal is right here, and the top is right here. The next stitch on top of it is right here. That's where the next diagonal goes. So we're going to come down, which is where the other one attached to, and over 2. So we're going to go right into this one. You look back here, you skip this stitch was worked, you skip this one because that was your diagonal, and you single crochet back loop into that one, and then they line up again. So the next stitch for the diagonal is on top of the one that you connected it to. So you come down over 2. We're going to do this 6 times, 6 including the border. So we have 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to skip this one. It's hard to see. Skip this one, and I single crochet into this one. And the diagonal goes here. Down, 1, 2. skip this one, single crochet back loop into that one, 54, down 1, 2, skip, go to this one, now is that 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then we do, including this one, there's 2 single crochets, and then we have 11 double crochets. So here I worked 11 double crochets. All these blocks are 12 stitches wide. I just wanted to show you that we're going to head back into a combo box. So the 12th stitch in this one is going to be, we're going to do a double crochet front loop only and a diagonal together. So I work half of the double crochet and then I yarn over down 1, 2. I go into my diagonal stitch and I crochet them together, and that's going to complete the 12th stitch, but technically kind of go into the next block. And then you would do that, you'd complete that 5 times, and then you'd come to the last block in the pattern. So you would complete this, you would do this. This diagonal is essentially this border diagonal. So you're going to work that 10 times, or excuse me, 5 times for a total of 10 blocks. And then this is how you will end it, which is really the same thing, but I will show it to you. So here we go. And then that's how you go from the solid block to the diagonal block. And then I will go ahead and work this, and then I will just show you what the very end looks like. So there's nothing too exciting about the end of this one. We did our diagonals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we worked the 2 single crochet back loops over here, and then we'll just do our border stitch, and that's going to complete the end of this one. And that is all you have to do for your blankets for this combo kind of box. If you choose to start the blanket with a solid block, like if this was a solid block and you ended on a solid block, the only difference is going to be this 12th stitch obviously won't have a diagonal. It will just be a double crochet front loop only. So that's going to be the difference. Again, if you end in a solid block, regardless of what you start with, but if you end in a solid block, all 12 stitches will be double crochets. There won't be a diagonal. To start the 4th row, we don't have a border stitch technically to work into. We have the top of the diagonal. So I'll head into there and I will work my border stitch. And then the first stitch, you need to look carefully because you can see the stitches, they always line up. So you need to go and you need to find the one that's underneath this next stitch, because we're going to work a double crochet front loop only. And in this pattern, I did anchor all of my vertical double crochets. I don't ever anchor my diagonals. So you work a double crochet, and then into the top of the diagonal, a single crochet back loop. And then in the next one, you just want to be careful. You'll get into a rhythm. You can see it's not this one. This one is sitting under the diagonal. It's the one that's tucked behind the diagonal. So for the anchor, I go in, I pull through, yarn over, I work a double crochet, I'll just end up, I go through 2, I end up with that extra loop because I went through the back stitch in the beginning, so it gave me that extra loop. And this is what we're going to do. Single crochet, back loop into the diagonal, anchor, double crochet into the next stitch. We'll do that across. So I've done it all the way across, and now I land on a single crochet back loop only. In the pattern that I wrote, I said to do a double crochet, single crochet 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the next section of that direction says to do 12 single crochets. The reason that I did that is so the repeat works properly. I also want to keep it consistent. So there's 12 stitches to this block. So I didn't want to say 13 single crochets. I did try to keep the pattern in the blocks. So it will give you the 6 repeat here for these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the double single 6 times. And then it will say 12 single crochet back loop only. So you're not reading it wrong if you're confused by that. It's correct. I'm trying to keep it consistent per each block when I write it. So we're going to go ahead and do the single crochets across these 12, and then I will repeat this 6 at the very end, and then I'll meet you back at the beginning. So there you go. This is the end of row 4. I did the 12 single crochets from here all the way across the solid section, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 double crochet, single crochet, the same as I did over here. And then we'll just end with a border stitch. And then rows 5 through 14 are going to be exactly the same. It will be these, the green will do the diagonal, and then you will work the double singles. I will do one more complete set of those just to show you what that looks like, and then we'll head into the next block types. So once you've made it to row 5, these diagonals are actually going to get a little bit easier. So you're going to be able to identify where they go a little bit easier because you've got this nice beautiful line in between them. So again, instead of doing the border, we're going to do the diagonal, and clearly it goes right into this stitch right here. So I'm going to go ahead and work my diagonal. And that is also the border. So we'll skip the border, and we'll do a single crochet back loop only into this one right there. And then we'll repeat that all the way across. So the next one's a diagonal, which we can clearly see. And then a single crochet right on the top of that double crochet. So it gets a lot easier once you're on these rows. Once you're into the block, it's so much easier to see where everything goes. This Lion brand wool ease yarn is what I used for one of my blankets, and it is the squishiest, warmest, coziest yarn for this pattern that I've used. So I highly recommend it. Now, you can see here, this is the single crochet back loop only. That's not a diagonal. So this last one is worked into that stitch. It's not worked into the top of a diagonal. There you go, your 1, 2, and then we'll work all of our double crochets, and then I'll do the diagonals down here, and we'll meet back at the beginning again. So row 5 is now complete. We have our diagonals across in this section. You can see how they're starting to line up with each other. We came and did 11 double crochets, and then our 12th was a double crochet with a diagonal, and then we worked the diagonals to the end. The last one went into that single crochet, and then we did our border stitch, and now we will start row 6. with the double crochets not really tying into the border stitch below, what I was doing was I was actually going into the back loop, into the stitch of this, underneath both loops of the diagonal, and into the back loop of the one below to create my new border stitch. It doesn't really pull it. I don't pull too tight, but it also doesn't really pull it enough to make a difference, but it kind of anchors the two of them. So then you're going to see, you're going to go where the first one is a double crochet. Speaking of anchoring, I anchor it, and then I work my double crochet right into the top of the double crochet below. And then a single crochet back loop only. And then you just work these all the way across. Work all 6 of them all the way across. And then when you get to that solid section, you're going to do your 12 single crochet back loop onlys, and then head into these double crochet single crochets. I just wanted to give you a demo. I will complete this row, and then we will come back and talk about how to switch into the next set of blocks and what that looks like. So this completes row 6. Then the directions, if you remember, 3 and 4 are the repeat, and I have repeated them here. So you're going to repeat 3 and 4 more times after this. The directions say to repeat 3 and 4 5 more times. We've done it once. Once you've done that, you're going to be on row 14. And then so this is what row 14 is going to look like. So for row 15, we're going to be transitioning from this combo kind of box into a solid box. And then the solid box is going to transition into a combo box. So to start that, we're going to do 11 single crochet back loop onlys until we get to this double crochet front loop only. Then this single crochet right here technically sits within this box. However, much like we've been doing here and here, we're going to take the diagonal and go from here into this box. So to start, we're going to do our border stitch. And then we're just going to work single crochet, back loop only, all the way across. So now we've completed our single crochet back loop only right to the top of this double crochet. So our next one is going to be a diagonal. So we go down and over 2, and that's where we work it. And then we do our single crochet into the back loop only. So then this is where we landed. This is the next diagonal. So we go down 1, 2. So down 1, 2. There we go. Now, every now and again, I like to check that I have 12 stitches across my block. This is a good example of where that type of thing can get a little bit tricky. So even though this diagonal came down and into this part of the block, this stitch doesn't count. So I would start here because it's defined that way in the pattern is the beginning of this block. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So right now I still have 12 stitches. Especially when you're transitioning from one type into the other type, it's good to, I do have some stitch markers. You can use stitch markers and mark every 12. Just make sure you always have 12 per block. And if it gets confusing, just double check, like, am I counting the top of this diagonal? Is that really in the block? The blocks are defined with the dark outline, so you can tell which stitches belong in that block. But again, especially when you're transitioning them, try to think to go ahead and count when you're starting. There's 12 here, there's 12 here, there's 12 here, and do it each time. So now I'm going to finish the single crochet back loop only, and then we'll meet back at the beginning. Row 18 is the same as the row that is at the top of this block. So once I complete this block, I will show you the last transition that there is to make, and then after that I will show you which row I recommend using for the top row, and then after that you should have all the power to go forth and make your buffalo plaid blanket, either how I've described in the updated pattern in the description below, or you can use the blocks and the information provided to design it bigger if you would like, or smaller if you would like. However you would like to work this pattern. I just wanted to give you the fun basics of it and let you do what you'd like with it. So once I complete this row, I'll come back. Again, this is what the top row of this block will look like, and I will show you how to begin the transition back to these block types, and then we will be all done. So to transition back into the combo boxes, and then for the center to transition back into the solid boxes, we're going to first work our border stitch. We're going to do single crochet back loop only across the top here. We will do 11 of them. So once we've completed these, we're going to do our diagonal stitches. This is really just the same as the row here. So we'll go ahead and complete those diagonals. This is the first row of the next block. So for this row, we're going to go ahead and start doing our double crochet front post into the first one, single crochet, double, single, double, single. Do that 6 times. And then here we're going to do single crochet all the way across. Again, I recommend making sure that you keep your 12 stitches, and you make sure you keep your 12 stitches here. I recommend, because we're transitioning again, to make sure you keep 12, 12, 12 as you make this transition. I'll complete this row and then come back when I'm done. All right, and so that's what it looks like when you've transitioned into the next space, back into these other blocks. And so the next row, just like we did down here, is going to be your diagonal crochet down into here, single crochet, and it will be a repeat of this row. And so then you can see that you don't count this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 here to here, 12 and 12. I know, because I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And then you repeat the next set of blocks. When you get to the top, you're going to have to make your decisions whether you want to, so each of these blocks have six sections 6 sections of these double crochets. When you get to the top, you're going to have to decide how you want to finish that, if you want to leave them at 6 or you want to do one more row to kind of clean up the diagonals. You'll have to determine that when you get to the top. If you want the full pattern, again, it's in the description box. I hope that this video helped you kind of understand some of the tricky bits. And if you have any questions, please definitely let me know. Thank you.